And Ryan, I have this reoccurring question that I ask everyone, but where do you see the future of jiu-jitsu heading?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, it's a hard one to answer. I have a few thoughts on it, but one we discuss here sometimes, myself and Morgan, where the future of it is. Like I hear a lot of conversation, something people saying gi and no gi, this kind of separation, where personally, I don't see any major difference to me. I know obviously the difference is the clothing that's worn, but to me, it's just grappling. You go in, if you like gi, you into the gi, and if you like the no gi, go into it. And even if you don't like the gi, go and do it anyway. Sure, you're a grappler. What's the jacket like? Just go at it. We were kind of no gi starting off. We got into the gi, then we were no gi, and then but I love the both in that sense. But then I think the sport is kind of getting a little bit more somewhat professionalized. It's going down in some ways. And say, like, for me, it's about the children, the kids. I'm promoting it to kids. And I just seen some things I seen with the CJI, the way it's promoted, and that I didn't like, and some aspects of ADCC and in the world level. I think the use of performance enhancing drugs, being so blatant and so openly used, I think something needs to be done about that, because people, like adults, do whatever they want to do. It doesn't bother me if that's what their choice is. But there's new generations, children coming up through the sport. I think that's extremely important that they get the right message. That if you want to perform in this sport, that you have to get involved in these performance enhancing drugs. I don't think is a good message. I don't think it ends well in the long run. So, as myself and Morgan here discuss a lot, looking at other martial arts over the years and how they evolve. Often, we see to a certain degree is that the children program or the kids programs will grow more, because as our generation were young, starting off all these clubs. Now, like, I'm 44 now, and a lot of the instructors are getting well into their 40s and into their 50s, and they're not competitors anymore. So they're sitting back more and have a look at what's going on. And many have kids, so they're trying to provide an environment for their kids as well, and for their friends and family, where the kids can come up in the sport, and it's going to be better for them than for their kids than it was for them. Myself included. Like, when I came up, it was very, very brutal. I got a lot of injuries as a result from kind of more hardcore training that was in some ways unnecessary. So you provide better training methods and just safety in general for these young generation. So I see a lot of focus going into the kids programs in the future. From a business point of view, often it's easier to teach adults because you don't need that many instructors. You don't need to have that much standards. So you could have one instructor and you could have 30 or 40 people in the room. Where you have kids class, you could have 20 kids and you need 3 or 4 coaches there. So that is a little bit of a setback from that point of view, where jiu-jitsu is very commercialized compared to GA or another sport where coaches are volunteers. And but when you look at, we would have friends from karate as well, and you see it, and other martial arts, and you see a lot more towards kids programs. And if you see the Irish championships in those martial arts, it's a lot more kids compete than adults, and the adults tend to drop off in around 18 to 20-year-old. But jiu-jitsu has been so different to that, where it has an amazing group of adults. However, the more that goes into kids, when those kids become 18, their development is much better. They're athletically strong, and their movement capacity is very good. And then the adult that's 35 trying to join, and there's these kids that are in phenomenal shape, it's going to be much more difficult then in the future. So programs may either just become more focused on the youth, or they may have to separate into competitor and recreational. And in some places they do that, you know, there is a recreational groups, there's competition teams that they just don't really go together on the mats, you know, because like a guy who's starting in his late 30s, who's a white or blue belt, and you have a young 22-year-old, early 20s, who's a competitor, it's very hard for them to train together and get something beneficial out of it as well, you know, so... yeah, it's a hard one to answer for sure, but there are a few of the things I see develop over the last few years as well.